Do I just say abstain?
Yes. I think all are here who are here are going to be here, is here, whatever, yeah. Whenever. We call the December 2021 meeting of the New Ulm Human Rights Commission to order. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. If you'll notice, our previous meeting was October 25th. We did not have a quorum on November. Are there any questions? Can I entertain a motion then to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. The minutes from October 25th, 2021 are approved. We'd like to welcome our new member, Katie Dorschner. At this point in time, Katie, you want to introduce yourself to us? Some of us know you, but
Sure. My name is Katie Dorschner. I have lived in New Ulm probably for about 20 years now. I work as a therapist, mental health therapist, and I've worked with a variety of people over the years. Child protection, low-income housing, with the elderly, so just a variety of people. Yeah, I'm excited to be a part of the commission.
hey, welcome. We'd like to welcome you. Now, you're filling in Diane Hatman's term, part of her term. So just for your record, you'll finish out her term
Okay.
and then be eligible for reappointment after that again.
Okay.
For 2 terms, okay? That's how most of us get more than 6 years in. We'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Jackie Kriebel and Tim Frenning, who, this is your last official meeting as voting members of the Human Rights Commission. I've been able to work with Jackie and Tim for my length of service here on the commission, and they've been a great help to the commission, and we'd like to thank them for their terms of service, which have now come to an end. 7 and 7 years?
I believe so.
Pretty much, yeah.
Something, yeah. Well, it's got to be that, because I'm,
No, I started fresh, so 6 years from
Yeah,
now.
I think I did. We
I
started.
started
at the
in
same time.
January, so
I
yeah.
took over for Carrie, but hers was ending.
okay. But you guys were here before I came.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, all right, good. Well, thank you for your service. Okay, take a look at the budget report, and it's important to take a look at that, considering we have a budget request today. If you'll notice that we have 68% left, so we certainly have money in the account to meet our funding request for today. Okay, with that, I'm going to suspend the agenda and move to item number 13.1, Sex Trafficking Awareness Seminar Funding Request. And here to speak on that is Chief Dave Borchert. Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm Dave Borchert, Chief of Police for the City of New Ulm. Here this evening to talk about a funding request regarding a sex trafficking presentation that we'd like to provide to the community on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. It'd be, the time right now is scheduled for 7 p.m. at MLC. The request that I'm asking for is $1,475. To kind of break that down, primarily it's for advertising and then a matching fund for the presenter. $625 for printing through the journal, $350 for KNUJ advertising, $500 that would be a match for a professional presenter, and that would be the total for the funds that I'm requesting this evening for that presentation. The sex trafficking is a very real situation that occurs nationwide, statewide, and within our own community. We've had several situations where people have reached out to us, sometimes in jail. They're like, okay, I'm finally away from, this person can't harm me right now because I'm in jail. And they'll disclose to us that they've been sex trafficked for a period of time. So I think the awareness is important for the community. Sometimes when I'm talking with the community on different subjects, and I think sometimes we all get this, but with this human trafficking, there's a little bit of a belief if it's actually happening, and if it's, you know, certainly not happening here. At least that's the perception, but it's a very real thing. I had mentioned earlier in the letter, when we've done, there's different names for them, but when we do enforcement projects, we're sometimes very surprised the number of people that are, when, you know, we throw a request, we'll say that we're a 15-year-old girl or 15-year-old boy, and, you know, we're kind of inviting, you know, people that are interested for money, and we're, you know, in those programs, we're trying to work our way up the ladder. But it starts with the person that's purchasing it because they're providing a demand for it, and it's a crime, and we're focused on them. That's, you know, sometimes referred to as the John. We're also looking for, but what we're really focused on is the person that's distributing it, the pimp. Different names for that individual, but that's criminal activity, and that's the enforcement projects that we have. We've had them literally right here in New Ulm, and we've had them in the region. And like I said, it's very surprising. So it just reinforces that this is a real issue. There's a demand, there's a supply, and I think it's important that the community realizes it. And you know, work on this important project, this important challenge as a community.
Okay.
Any questions or comments that I can, to the best of my ability, try to address?
Just for the newer members of the commission, in the past, we have co-opted with this project financially, as well as putting our endorsement weight behind that in years past. So there's precedent for that, and it fits within our scope of education.
I believe I attended the last one. That was several years ago that you had it, you said? Yeah.
Correct.
And it was really, really, I think, good information that was offered at that. Yeah.
The Human Rights Commission back in October of 2016 sponsored one along with New Ulm Police Department, and the speaker that is going to be at the January program was our speaker then. And with very little advertising, very little word out there, we had right about 130 or 135 people show. I do have some information for people that aren't familiar with sex trafficking. Are you okay if I give some information about it?
Please.
So On any given weekend night in Minnesota, 45 girls under the age of 18 are sold for sex through the internet classified websites and escort services. 213 girls every month are sold for sex online 5 times a day. The FBI identifies the Twin Cities as one of 13 U.S. cities with the high incident rate of child prostitution. Once a child has started being prostituted, their lifespan is 7 years. The average age of entry into prostitution for a person who is prostituted as a juvenile is 13. And 75% of the victims are trafficked online. So this is something that, like Chief Borkert mentioned, it's happening here. We all have young people in the area. We have a lot of young people in our schools, and it's definitely something that our medical providers, our educators, foster parents, that I think it's important that we get that information out there.
Perhaps in our advertising, we could especially emphasize the educational community, reach out and attend this informative workshop so that we can, help spread the news and the information and become a resource to our young
And
people.
continuing ed credits are available for educators, foster parents, and medical providers. So nurses, doctors, therapists.
Before us, you have a copy of the funding request for $1,475. It's the link on the item. Jackie is going to abstain from this because she's involved with the planning process. So I would entertain a motion to grant the funding request.
A motion to grant the funding request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant the funding request for the Sex Trafficking Awareness Seminar in January. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion passes unanimously, so we'll grant that funding.
Thank you.
For the support.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dave, for all your work on setting that up. Okay, second item, and this comes as somewhat of a surprise because I was used to doing officers' elections in January, but Lisa pointed out to me that according to our city commissions manual, they're supposed to take place in December.
Yeah.
So, but we hadn't met in December, I think, in a long
Oh,
time,
yeah.
so, yeah. Okay, so we need to re-elect officers. I did talk to Wendy. Wendy is willing to serve, but not as chair, she emphasized. Okay?
She's smart. She knew what would happen.
So, with that,
Are you able to continue as chair, or what are the limits?
yeah,
on
I
that?
am able, yes, I am, yeah. Things have, yes.
Are you willing?
Oh, that would be the next one.
I am willing if you are willing, so. Yeah.
Nominations are open as we speak.
Yeah, we're gonna start with chair and move down because that's normally how, yeah, so we'll open nominations for chair.
I'll nominate Larry.
I'll second.
Larry Zaire has been nominated as chair. Is there another nomination? Is there another nomination? Is there a motion to close nominations?
I move to close nominations.
Second.
All those in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Do we need to vote? Thank you. I'll accept that responsibility. Now we move on to the office of vice chair. Are there nominations for the office of vice chair? Just by way of record, I know Dan has served in the past as vice chair, but he's begged off because of job responsibilities. Still willing to continue as a commissioner, but responsibility as vice chair has been kind of complicated for him.
I would nominate Casey as vice chair.
I'll second that.
I'll move to close.
Didn't we just elect Kristen?
I was just filling in.
There's a motion on the floor to close nominations. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Welcome aboard, Casey.
She just got,
Next year.
that was my bad, everybody. People have to tell me what's going on.
We have Office of Secretary. Do we have any nominations for Secretary?
I'll nominate Kristen.
Second.
I move to close nominations.
Second.
All those in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
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 Nominations are closed. Welcome aboard, Kristen.
Who seconded it? I'm already failing at my,
We're moving fast.
okay.
Tim.
Perfect.
Tim and
Fastest
Jackie are
election
railroading us through these
officers
things
I've
tonight.
ever- Sorry.
It's okay.
I am a hungry person right now.
It's okay. Just don't go to George's, they're filled. So,
Okay. Oh, okay.
all right. With that business item out of the way, just a reminder that the executive committee, their job is to, in January, for the January meeting, is to review the bylaws and make recommendations. Now, our bylaws read, we have to read it at one meeting, pass it the next, so we can't officially change it till February meeting. But we would have to bring that to the meeting on January for any changes in the bylaws, okay? Just so we're clear. So for the next meeting, we'll have to convene as a executive committee to move along. Okay, moving along to the events committee report. Before us, you see the press release for the Human Rights Commission Award for 2021. At this point, we're planning a brief reception here at the end of the meeting in January. Tim and Jackie are more than welcome and invited. I did check with Lisa to make sure that the plaque will be ready on time. It's ordered with Nicholson's.
Okay.
We took care of that. By the way, if you have any questions ever, Lisa is the one to talk to. Okay. Is someone handling the food stuff?
Yes, and
Got
he
the-
only wanted desserts, correct? Like
Right,
that,
something like that,
so-
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe something to drink or something, yeah.
yes.
You could talk to Lisa about funding for that or simply turn in a receipt,
Okay.
post if that, whatever works. Talk to Lisa, she'll handle it. We've already approved the funding for that, so
Okay.
you don't need to do that. Any other questions on the Human Rights Award presentation for 2021?
Has somebody gotten a list from Chief Borgert?
I did talk to him about a week ago.
Okay,
And he's gonna work through Lisa Grathwell, will take care of that.
okay.
But I'll follow up with that with him to make sure we get that information. Okay, the poster and essay contest, just a reminder that the deadline is January 15th. Perhaps we will send a little reminder out in the newspaper that our deadline is.
Do we know if we've gotten many submissions?
I
or-
did not check with Lisa today, so usually we get them right at the end if we get them. That's been the case. Education Committee report, that really is the Education Committee report, the poster and essay contest that was out of order. Executive Committee report then is number 8.1, which is the letter to the editor, which was sent in November. We didn't have a chance to respond to that as far as a group goes, because the Executive Committee members took care of that. Does anybody have any questions or any concerns about that letter that we sent to the letter to the editor on November 11th?
You cannot click on that Google Forms later down in the thing.
Okay. I think she sent it to us, though.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Public Relations Committee, no report. Most of you got a current human rights issues emailing from the state. I think we're all on that email list about several settlements that are taking place with that. It's good to read those through because sometimes those issues apply directly to the city of New Ulm, as we're seeing here a little later on. Which brings us then to item number, Dan is our legislative update, so I assume there's no report. Item number 12, which is the city council meeting notes. Our city council representative at this time, our liaison, Casey, submitted some of the updated policies regarding the New Ulm Police Department that deals with use of force, taser device use, administrative investigating, firearms training and qualifications, bias-based policing, and personnel records and retention and purging. And thought that perhaps we should at least discuss some of this or have some of these issues clarified, because they might have a connection to human rights issues. Correct?
I mean, if they're being switched based on funding or something, is there a way that we could support the police department? Like,
Or they're actually being removed and replaced.
yeah,
something else.
like, we don't really know, so how
Okay.
could we support them with that?
From the Human Rights Award winner for the year, these policy changes do not worry me as much as it would in other places where we don't have the relationship with the law enforcement center as we do. So to me, I have confidence that there's probably a replacement of these. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be doing our due diligence without asking.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe we contacted Police Chief Borchard, who will be more than willing to attend our next meeting and explain and clarify these issues for us. So if we could maybe have a motion to table this until next meeting?
I'd make a motion to table it.
For a second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table the policy changes from the city council meeting of just the other night. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Then we are tabled till next time. Thank you. We already dealt with the sex trafficking awareness seminar funding request. Item 13.2, the community belonging survey from the New Ulm Public Schools. We all received, I believe, an email on this, asking us to participate in the survey as members of the community, to offer input into the community belonging concept. Casey, did this come from you or was it from Wendy? I don't remember. I didn't remember.
I think it's Wendy.
It's not from me.
I do know in the community there was some negative reaction to the survey.
Is that where the letter to the editor? Is
Yeah,
that
I
what
think
that
so.
I didn't even read it because I read the headline and
Yeah, I think, well, I think the encouragement is for us to participate and make sure we fill out that form from that email. I'll maybe have Wendy resend those, so you have a correct link and get those in, okay?
I'd like to acknowledge that the school board is working on addressing these issues and trying
Okay.
to identify issues.
Good. I think about a year and a half, about 2 years ago, we had a community survey that resulted in how welcoming our community was to outsiders, which prompted the Welcoming Communities Project, which a number of us were involved with at various levels. I was involved with that for quite some time, and it's some of the comments made in the paper were not justified based on the previous survey. The previous survey stated pretty clearly that New Ulm was not a welcoming community for outsiders. And identified several other places that needed attention. And so there were a number of us in the community involved in that community belonging survey, or welcoming community survey, which is, from what I looked at, the survey is quite similar in many ways. Okay, so I would encourage you to participate. I think it would be helpful for the school district to begin its planning. Any other comments on that?
Where can we find that survey?
I think Wendy emailed it to us, but I'll make sure she emails it to us again, okay? So we have it, or I'll find it and
Link is
forward
on
it to you.
here too, isn't it?
The link
Can't
doesn't,
click on it.
this is the link, yeah, it's a restricted site, it's not gonna.
Okay.
So I will, I'll forward it to you.
Sounds
Yeah, you
good.
can't get it from here, it's probably,
I'm guessing you could find it on the school website, but I don't know that for
Okay.
sure.
I still have my email up. I'll forward it to everyone tonight, because I think Wendy's gone, I'm not sure where she's at.
Sounds good.
I think the closing date is coming up, I believe, like
Right.
January 3rd, maybe.
Okay, so
So-
we'll emphasize that then. Get in. I don't have any news on by the way, I don't have any news on any new members to replace Jackie and Tim as of yet. I did not ask Lisa that today when I talked with her.
I talked to the mayor the other day, and he said that they've all been filled,
Okay, great,
so.
super.
Honestly? Seriously?
Yeah.
Because I've been trying to recruit.
Good. A number of us have, so. Okay, then the diversity, equity, and inclusion statement discussion, which we were hoping to do last time, if you'll open to that document. Casey, do you want to walk us through this? If I understand it correctly, you collated a number of sample diversity, equity, and inclusion statements for us to take a look at as a sample, right?
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
I've just pulled from a few larger organizations and a few local organizations, including like the public schools, a nonprofit in town, and then federal government, United Way is a big one in town too. So just something that we could consider maybe looking at as we're reviewing the bylaws and updating those at that next meeting. So these were just some suggestions and examples to look at. And I did include the Human Rights Campaign.
And your thinking is to put this in the bylaws that as a check for people to be appointed to the Human Rights Commission.
Something that a commissioner would agree with and support.
That's a great idea.
That's a really good idea.
There are, for your record, there are some statements in there, which I think I shared with most of you at that time, which I shared with the mayor, which he found quite useful in, deciding on membership.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Ditto.
So did he. We have 4 statements in that. There's 4 statements in there in the bylaws, and I should have had I should have had her add the bylaws in as part of this document. And I apologize for that. But if we are to do this, I might recommend that we refer this to the executive committee to develop a statement to be included in our bylaws, which would be presented at their bylaw review next January. Would be read in January and acted upon in February. Does that sound like a plan? Because as I look at this, I don't think any one of them works, but necessarily for what we,
Not as a standalone.
not as a standalone, right? We have to kind of, piece it together. That's what I'm thinking, but, and we would welcome input from anyone, of course. And Jackie and Tim, feel free. You guys have served long enough on this commission to know what we're doing on that.
We know how to reach you.
So can I have a motion to refer this to the executive committee for action? Or for drafting, I guess you could call it, not action, for drafting.
So moved.
I second that.
Is there are there any questions or discussion? All those in favor of referring development of a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement for the bylaws, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, so that'll be referred to the newly formed executive committee. So we'll do that. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 24th. Please, everyone, put that on your agenda. Not only is it an important meeting for just getting the year started off and planning for the year, but also we're giving out our Human Rights Award at the end of that meeting. Generally, our meeting will be about 20, 25 minutes, and then right after that, we'll have the Human Rights Award presentation and reception. Okay? Any other issues? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you for
I do
coming.
have a request.
Sure.
So our logo, you know, the logo.